Meta's dropping a new AI. Super curious about that and what you've learned there. Kaiser recently went on strike, and this is crazy, and how that's going to impact just the medical industry as a whole and the economy, really. There was a dentist on TikTok who was giving away free smiles to his followers. Allegedly, he was caught putting females in really bad positions, offering to do things for them medically in exchange for inappropriate things.
Is the next version of their Meta Quest, right? Which is the VR, AR kind of goggles. This one gave me a lot of Apple Vision Pro feelings.
Talk to kids and ask them, what games are you playing? And they almost never say they're on Facebook's goggles. When they do, Tanner, I ask them, how often do you play? Now, these are kids that play video games all the time, right? So I'm like, how long do you play? I play for like 30 minutes and it starts hurting my head and I get off.
Yeah, so I've got a friend, went over to their house yesterday. He's an ophthalmologist and he works for Kaiser. And we were just chatting about how this last week he only saw half as many patients as normal. There's so many strikes that seem to be happening right now. We've got the auto strikes, right? We got the writer strikes. And if this is something that will impact dental.
What I do think it does hit dental is like, why are the strikes happening? So I think there's two things that are putting pressure on making the strikes happen. Number one is the economy. Should dentists be on social media? Like, is it good for a medical professional to be on social media and kind of sharing, doing dances or whatever, right? Like, is that a professional?
Prominent dentist is being exposed as one of the biggest creeps on TikTok. Dr. Kenny Smiles posted a contest to his large following where he said he'll give free dental work to a lucky winner. One woman was so eager to win that she directly messaged him, and that's when he asked if they could meet and if she could send him a clothing optional photo.
I think that it's unfortunate that he's a dentist, but I think he's a creep. And then there are creeps in every walk and circle of life, unfortunately.
Welcome back to another episode of Dental Rift. I'm your co-host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more new patients so you can grow the way that you want.
My name is Tanner Applegate. I am the CEO and founder of Unified Dental. We are a holistic data approach to help you make the decisions that are going to be best and most impactful for your office.
Awesome. So 3 crazy updates going on in dental and in medical and in our economy. And these really impact all of us, each one of these. So number one is Meta's dropping a new AI. Super curious about that and what you've learned there, Tanner. And then number 2, Kaiser recently went on strike, and this is crazy, and how that's going to impact just the medical industry as a whole and the economy, really. And then lastly, there was a dentist on TikTok who was giving away free smiles to his followers, and he got caught, allegedly. I'll say that. Allegedly, he was caught putting females in really bad positions, offering to do things for them medically in exchange for inappropriate things. So let's talk about that, the AI Facebook. What's going on with Meta and AI?
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of chat about your thoughts on Meta as a company and its business model of going the route that it is. I'm curious to know, do you buy it or do you not, right? So the reason why this is coming up, Meta just did a big announcement, kind of product launch, like a lot of the tech companies are doing. And in it, they announced a handful of things that were interesting to me. First is the next version of their Meta Quest, right? Which is the VR, AR kind of goggles. This one gave me a lot of Apple Vision Pro feelings, right? So they took the world around them and is now part of what they're doing. It's not nearly as like see-through as as the Apple one. It's like an eighth of the cost, right? So it's absolutely a bargain compared to the Vision Pro. But honestly, it was very impressive to me, the capabilities that it seemed to have. I think that it's still targeting more of a kind of like a party trick type of thing, right? Where it's just about having fun, but not using in your day-to-day, which I think is a miss on their part. But then they also spent a ton of time after the Quest talking about the new Ray-Bans that have AI built into it, as well as just kind of their AI models in general, right? Their OpenAI or ChatGPT alternatives. And all in all, my impressions were, I think that they're getting their act together, right? When they first started announcing these things, it was kind of like everyone was laughing at Facebook, But I think now that there are other companies moving into the space, we're starting to see, okay, there might be potential here, and Facebook is actually starting to position itself. So I'm curious kind of what your perception has been of Meta, right? Even the name change to Meta from Facebook. And then are you bullish or bearish on the future of Meta?
Hey, I got something crazy to share with you, and I'm going to get you right back to the show, I promise. So we have an event called AlignerCon coming up next year, and this month we're giving away a buy one, get one free. We're going to be partnering with ClearCorrect, and this is going to be one of the biggest events that we've ever done in Nashville, Tennessee, in the biggest hotel in America. If you want to come to this, again, we're going to give you a buy one, get one free. We want to meet you in person. Just go to alignercon.com, and we're going to teach you how to create, convert, close, and even some clinical components around clear aligners. So don't miss this event. Go check it out now.
So I think they're stabbing in the direction of the future. I think they're semi right. Like there's something over here. There's gaming, there's entertainment, there's work, and all these things are going to piece together with AI and technology. But right now they're not anywhere close. And here's why I know that. I talk to kids and ask them, what games are you playing? And they almost never say they're on, Facebook's goggles. When they do, Tanner, I ask them, how often do you play? Now, these are kids that play video games all the time, right? So I'm like, how long do you play? I play for like 30 minutes and it starts hurting my head and I get off. This is not old people like me. These are kids, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds that love playing video games, that would love to immerse themselves into a virtual reality world, but they can't because the technology is not there. So I don't think they're anywhere near it. The whole metaverse thing that they launched and everybody's going to go in there and do all that. It wasn't like, if you ever like even messed around with it or saw it, it was just, it wasn't anywhere close to usable. Right. And so are they moving in the right direction? Yes. Are they going to actually pull it off? I don't think so. I don't. And here's the other problem. Facebook hasn't really ever developed anything. Besides Facebook, they've bought everything, but they're very delicate on moving forward because of all the privacy stuff. They know the government, if they just go out and start buying companies that can actually do some of these things, they will get slapped really hard by the government with antitrust laws. So they're very, very careful about acquiring more companies, and they're trying to build from within, but I just don't know if they can do it. They're a big company. They're old now. They used to be young. Now they're old, right? And I feel like some young company is going to come out of nowhere and give us something, just like ChatGPT did, kind of come out of nowhere and be like, here, we did it. And it's just going to blow people's socks off. But it hasn't happened yet.
Well, we'll see. Let's see what happens to Meta in the beginning. In the next little bit, it is interesting to me to see Apple throw its hat in the ring too, because I think that'll give a lot of traction to Facebook, and it's good for both of them that
Yes.
they are competing in it.
I agree with you on that front. I think Apple just did it as like, hey, you want to buy something really expensive? Here, I don't think they actually built it for people to buy, and that's based on the price that they priced it at and how they built it and the number of cameras they put a lot of extra stuff in there that they didn't have to. That tells me, hey, we're going to build this thing just to kind of flex this muscle a little bit, but not actually to give it to the masses. They know what people will buy and what they want and what price point. So I'm still interested in that one. That one has way more use case for me personally, if it actually works. So I'm interested to see how that goes.
Check out, if you get the chance, check out the podcast between Mark Zuckerberg and Lex Friedman, where they're using them, because they go in and actually shows the capabilities of them, and it is very impressive what it can do. I mean, they're very realistic, like, because you're right, the metaverse before was just so cartoonish, it was kind of embarrassing to be caught in it, but now the reality of it is it was very real looking. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Awesome. I'll take a look at that. Now let's talk about Kaiser and what's going on. Companies or unions are striking everywhere, and there's a whole reason for that that goes into the economy and inflation and all that kind of stuff. But specifically at Kaiser, which is very interesting. So what's happening there? And
yeah, so I've got a friend, went over to their house yesterday. He's an ophthalmologist and he works for Kaiser, and we were just chatting about how this last week he only saw half as many patients as normal because Kaiser is in a lot of the admin or techs, kind of the lower paid employees, are in a strike right now. right? And to me, it was just reminiscent of there's so many strikes that seem to be happening right now. We've got the auto strikes, right? We got the writer strike, etc. I'm curious kind of what your thoughts are and what's causing this whirlwind of things to make it all happen kind of all at once. And if this is something that will impact dental.
I don't know if it'll impact dental because I don't think we have unions in dental, so that makes it
Yeah.
really hard to strike. Like, how are you gonna? Someone had to unionize like front desk people or hygienists. It's not impossible though. Like associate dentists could unionize really quickly, right? Like someone could come in and make that happen. So I don't think it's going to hit dental from that standpoint. What I do think does hit dental is like, why are the strikes happening? So I think there's two things that are putting pressure on making these strikes happen. Number one is the economy. Everything costs way more. I can't afford a house. I can't buy a house. Like the houses are still really expensive. Interest rates are really high. You can't buy a house. Like you can't put enough money down. You don't make enough money on paper. Cars are super expensive. I think the average car note's somewhere around like $800 a month. It's crazy. Like if you're making $5,000-$6,000 a month before taxes, it's a lot of your income going just to have a car. And that doesn't even count filling it up. Gas in California is around $6.50 a gallon. Food is insanely expensive. So it's like when you add all these things up, it's like, man, yeah, I might be making $60,000-$70,000 a year, but it's not going nearly as far as it used to. So that's what's, I think, driving part of the strikes. The other part that's driving the strikes, like the Writers Guild, as an example, is AI. So people know it's like, bro, you can crank out scripts way faster than you used to be able to. And I can also take your old scripts and spin them into like 500,000 other things. And maybe not as good as you, but I can get it close. And then I can hire somebody, bring them in and have them adjust. And that's what's happening in a lot of these different sectors is AI's coming in and making it so your output can be a lot more. And people just don't like that. Like, and I understand why. Like wait, you want me to do way more work for less money? No one likes that. No one wants to sign up for that. But AI is really disrupting things that way. I don't think that that's the reason for like the medical strikes, right? I don't think AI is there yet and infecting those jobs yet, but it can eventually. The same thing with like the auto labor guys. That's not an AI strike, right? That is
it is an AI strike actually.
With robots, right?
With robots, autonomous vehicles and such, yeah.
Yeah. So robot, it's a little bit different, right? Robots are, hey, a robot can do this. It's a little bit different than AI, but I get it. You can put AI into the robots too. So that one's kind of like a hybrid, right? It's a labor cost thing plus robotics, AI.
And a lot of it too, I mean, I was doing a little bit of research on the strike, especially in like the California side of things, is the autonomous self-driving cars, which is AI and automation, right? That's what's causing a lot of these issues because they're wanting to ban things like autonomous vehicles in California, especially autonomous truck driving, which is what's happening. And so that's where a lot of the strike is happening there, is that they feel like that the government needs to protect these jobs by saying, hey, we need to ban these things, but it's not happening.
Well, what do you think about that? So do you think the government should, like, the number one job in America for males by a lot is truck drivers? So if you just if you snap your fingers overnight and say, yeah, just let the economy just deal with it, and you just have automated trucks driving everywhere, you would cripple the economy. Like it would be really, really bad for everybody. There was nobody that it wouldn't be, except for the people selling the automated trucks. It would be bad for everybody else, right? So do you say, hey, just let the economy do its thing? Or do you say, no, this is where the government actually has to step in and help? Like, how do you see that?
I would say that in general, I am a capitalist, and so I feel like let the economy do its thing. But you're right. If we continue down that path, I could see where the ultra rich continues to get richer, and then there will be a lot of those without jobs, and it'll be interesting to see how it pivoted. I was able to just go to spent a week in Zimbabwe last week, and so I kind of felt like I stepped back in time from an economic perspective of like, how do they deal with the economy and build these things up? Because they're facing political corruption where their economy can't get ahead of itself because of the political corruption that's going on. And so I don't think that that's exactly, I mean, I'm not saying that that's not where we're at, but we might be headed that way anyway. But it'll be interesting to see, because they have a like 50% plus unemployment rate down there. And things like autonomous vehicles don't solve those problems, right? Like they have security guards everywhere because they have cheap labor to be able to afford security guards. Where here, like we couldn't. Like there was the house that I stayed at had a security guard that stayed out there all night because they can afford, like the labor is just around, and it's a sad kind of situation to see. So yeah, I think that it is a very tenuous issue that we're going to have to deal with for sure. I can see it being political and politics getting pulled in, but whether I think that it should or shouldn't, I don't know yet.
Yeah, I'm generally like a free market guy, like let the market decide, but this is one of those situations where you go 0 to 90 really quickly, right? Like usually it's like, oh, let technology roll out and we'll kind of see what's going to happen. Like with the internet is a great example, or social media. It was this long process where businesses kind of died and then other businesses grew, and it was slow enough that everybody could kind of react to it. And sure, there's people who are always going to be left on the fringes, like that's always going to happen. But with this one, it's like the second you roll out the autonomous trucks, it's boom, everybody's job is gone. So I think that there needs to be some kind of intervention here. Now, here's the thing that kind of stinks though. The government's horrible at it. So the government usually overcorrects, and then it causes all these other problems because that they don't think through. So I'm like you, I don't have the answers, but that's definitely one area that we need to address. Hey, sorry to interrupt the show, but I got something that's going to provide a ton of value to you. So we've been doing a series called Ask Gary where people send in their questions and we answer them live on the show. So we wanted to answer the question today of Val. But before we do that, if you have any questions, email them in at askgary@smcnational.com, or you can DM us on social media or leave a comment below. So this question came in from Val, and she wanted to know, how do different markets impact marketing costs? So I recently just had a customer who was actually stuck behind a mountain, and it really was impacting their cost per lead. I've also seen people who have offices near borders or rivers. You see this a lot in the Northwest up by New York and New Jersey, and it's really, really important that you understand those markets before you get involved with them on the marketing side, because traffic flow will impact that, and it is not straightforward. So you can be hit by borders, rivers, bridges, mountains. All of these things do impact your marketing, and a lot of times the answers are not entirely clear until you start marketing. So you always want to look at a map first, then you want to start testing, then you want to scale from there. So I got this next one for you. So this one's crazy. Normally I wouldn't even show something like this, but I think that this kind of shows you where we're at with social media and professionals on social. Because remember for a while it was like, should dentists be on social media? Like, is it good for a medical professional to be on social media and kind of sharing, doing dances or whatever, right? Like, is that professional? And we kind of moved past that, right? It's like, whatever, if you want to do dances, do dances, you know what I mean? The patients will sort it out. Well, now we're kind of at this next stage where you got this like TikTok fame, plus you're a medical professional, and then you're wielding that in a negative way. So I want to show this to you. I don't think you've heard of this, so I'm really interested to see your first take response to this.
Prominent dentist is being exposed as one of the biggest creeps on TikTok. Dr. Kenny Smiles posted a contest to his large following where he said he'll give free dental work to a lucky winner. One woman was so eager to win that she directly messaged him, and that's when he asked if they could meet and if she could send him a clothing optional photo. Now, he could say it was from someone else, but there are countless examples of him being inappropriate to clients.
If you want free shit, you gotta like send some pictures of your bitch.
Other women have come forward to share their experiences, with one woman saying he was making comments about her 3-year-old daughter. Dr. Kenny was arrested in 2014 for prescribing medications to his friends and himself. Who knows what happens to patients when they go under, because this prominent dentist.
Have you heard of this before?
No, I haven't.
What are your thoughts?
I think that it's unfortunate that he's a dentist, but I think he's a creep, and then there are creeps in every walk and circle of life, unfortunately.
So how do you solve something like this? What are your thoughts on, like, where do we go wrong here?
Just like we believe in free markets, you got to believe in, well, I guess since you believe in people canceling him, but the issue is that the more you actually react to it, the more it actually blows up his case and helps him than it does hurt him.
So you think, okay, so people talk like what we're doing right now, us talking about it helps them?
Mm-hmm. Any publicity is good publicity.
That's a problem too, right? Like there used to be a time where it's like you wouldn't want to be caught dead having people talk bad about you in this way, but then now you have celebrities who release private tapes of themselves doing things, and it's negative, right? It's negative, but then now everybody knows about you. So then you leverage that into other opportunities. So that's, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yikes.
Yeah.
Very
so
interesting.
It's a hard one. I mean, it's one of those that like, I think it falls on the platform in which it exists to start canceling those type of things. But then you have to make sure that you're not canceling things that don't need to be canceled because they aren't predatory in nature.
Yeah, because it's one thing to say, hey, I'm famous, and that draws certain people to you, right? So it's like, that's one thing. But then it's like to have a medical degree and will that to try to get things out of people is just, now you're like double. It's absolutely wild. I couldn't believe it when I watched it. I was just like, man, zero boundaries, like zero boundaries.
Yeah, it's sad. That's crazy, man. Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think it's I mean, good thing is like at least there's not a ton of that in dental, but it is rampant everywhere, and that's the bigger issue.
It is. Yeah. Awesome, man. All right. We're going to talk. Peace.